What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, RAF ESPARZA, coming to you on a very busy week. But, I mean, let's get right to the news as is. You guys going to CJI? Hold on. What does my lower third say? Is going to CJI? Who knows? You'll have to discover as I discover it in real time. There may be a yes, maybe a no, but I can tell you one person who's not going to CJI. Unfortunately, that is Tim Freeman. And Tim, I noticed something. I am going to adjust this as I throw to you. But notice, Tim has a green background right now because he is missing his backdrop. But Tim, why are you in particular not going to CJI?
Well, I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to CJI. I'm glad you asked that. Spirit Airlines has revoked my jump pass, and I can no longer make the trip out to Vegas. Couldn't get another ticket at the last minute, so decided was not going to go. No, man, listen, didn't get into the song and dance that went through it this time, but I'm glad you're going. I think it's going to be a great event. I'm looking forward to it. Lots of questions that I have about what's going to happen there, but we'll definitely find out. I will definitely be watching from a distance, taking notes and critiques. I'll have them ready.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Just so you know, it's not like you do have homework, but I guess because you host a show with me, there is some homework to do. And that
sorry about
we do have work to do no matter what. Like, you don't just get to sit home and enjoy the event. You actually have to enjoy with a notepad and go, what things are we going to make fun of? Well, why don't we start with the top of the news? This is a little bit late for some of y'all, but in case you're under a rock, you don't get your news, or you watch Newsmax a lot religiously, we'll set you right. Here's what's happening. Gable Steveson decided to pull out of his match against Craig Jones. Who could have seen that coming besides everybody in the world when it was announced on April 1st? We were assured it was not an April Fool's joke, and if it was a long gestating April Fool's joke. So instead, he pulls out, and now there was a post by Gordon taking a victory lap for something that he had nothing to do with. Or did he? Tim, what possibly could Gordon have had to do with the loss of Gable as the main event for Craig Jones Invitational number 2?
Well, I don't know if I can say that I have receipts, Raf, but I can say this. If you rewind the time machine back a few years, you will remember, because you're an OG as myself, Gordon signed a contract with one grappling championship, and they made a big deal out of it. And he later pulled out for medical reasons without ever having competed for one. Not too long later, Gordon signed with somebody else, and all was right in the world. So that doesn't surprise me if Gordon did advise Gable Steveson, especially when you look back and you see Gordon's like mocking post. Gordon doesn't even know how to be a good villain. He has to like watch old Batman from the 60s and go like, oh, I know what to do. I'll go online and I'll mock him. It's like, man, you're Captain Obvious, buddy. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know if he did, but he certainly has expertise in pulling out of contracts because of injury without ever having competed.
That's a very fair assessment, Tim. I do find it fascinating that only 2 sets of people really lay claim for stuff like that. Gordon and the Taliban. Now, I'm not saying they're the same person, but you don't often get people taking responsibility in a way like that. Not that he did. Legally, I'm sure he had to put that through at least one draft. Is it the smartest of moves? For sure not. Here's why. Gable pulling out is one thing. Then we heard it was because of turf toe. When you hear something is because of turf toe, that's obviously very Craig Jones based, and you think, all right, maybe I'm not always hearing the truth. It's maybe a joke. What is not a joke, though, is that the UFC has Gable on one of their events for LFA, which has been a feeder for them that appears on the UFC Fight Pass network. So it doesn't take a genius to realize that's a UFC branded event, and UFC athletes aren't allowed to compete on any of the Craig Jones Invitational activities and festivities. So already we're at a disconnect. But then Gordon kind of insinuating that's a baller move, and then Gable liking it. Craig takes a screenshot and just doesn't have to do much. So we're talking like the Bond villain that thinks they won, did a roundabout, and then Craig just literally screenshots and says, well, thanks for promoting my event more, you dummies. I don't need you. That's it. And Craig is admitting, like, it would have been a fun event because Gable's still a big dude.
Yeah.
But now, do we get bragging rights as a sport over wrestling right now, Tim?
I mean, I think the jiu-jitsu crowd always thinks they have bragging rights over everybody. Even when the wrestlers come in and like do really well, we still feel like we're bragging over them. But I will say this. Wrestling, you know, it's been a little iffy lately with Gable pulling out. Not too long ago, Real American Freestyle lost their main dude to an arrest. So there's like, you know, some things going on with wrestling. I think jiu-jitsu's looking okay, but it, you know, look, the week is not over yet. So who knows? We got to get to this weekend first.
So before we press on, just to make it clear what happened, then they said, don't worry, we've got a replacement in line. So then everybody was taking credit for saying we sabotaged this, and now you're stuck with Chael versus Craig. And that's something we'll go over on our official pre-show that we are doing, asterisks. But what I would tell you, though, I don't like that main event. And hold on, let me see if I can do this in Chael's thing. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Tim, I'm going to take you off screen here just to see if I do this right. I don't like this main event, and I'll tell you why. You know, where does Craig get off? Colin Chael, who's sitting at home thinking, oh, I'll get a manicure, I'll have a Budweiser, but instead now he's got to go out there and save all of jiu-jitsu. Again, you're welcome, everybody. But here's the thing. Why do you even care, Craig? What do you even care about giving a main event to these people? I guess Chael P. Sonnen will once again come down from his high perch to be undefeated and get this done. But my main question to you is this. Why him? Could have been anybody. Craig, if you fought 100 hobos, it would have been more entertaining than fighting Chael P. Sonnen. Do you know why? Because we've already seen it. And that's the whole thing. We have already seen the spectacle. So in that case, why would we need to see that spectacle again? I need to put this in terms that maybe Chael can understand, but I will thank him for this. I will. And I know you're thinking out there, you're not going to give him credit. But I will. I have to give credit where credit is due, and that is that Chael is bringing his star prestige and power and actual ability to show up, which is something that, you know, Gable doesn't do. I mean, allegedly, he's dropped out of multiple things, football. But I guess what I'm saying here, people, is this. Tune in, because what else are you doing on a Sunday? How's that?
Very, very good. Very nice work. And you know, Chael's going to show up. If the check shows up, Chael's coming.
The only thing I've thought about this is there repercussions for Chael?
That's a great question.
I see this. Raf's accent is evolving. Well, what accent? I was just embodying the spirit. So I don't really know who you're talking about here. If any accent would need to be involved. What are you insinuating here? This is a very legal repercussions time here, Brian. Why don't we move on and we move past an interpolation, lawyers, and go to our next topic, which is this. Jiu-jitsu has once again demonstrated we don't know what a debate is. And nowhere was that more evident than watching the train wick for 2 hours that was Mikey and Craig Jones. Mighty Mouse very, very, very nicely stepped in to be a moderator, but even that proved to be a tall task for one of our GOATs. Tim, what are we doing here? What is this? Why did they do this? Let's start with that, and then let's try to circumvent what exactly was wrong with it.
Obviously they did it because Craig's trying to drum up eyeballs. Now, this was the debate that absolutely nobody needed to see. It put Jesus to sleep. It's better than melatonin. It's so bad. It was so bad. When Craig showed up, like Craig McCholo guy with the flannel opened up, and then Mikey came in doing his "I can't see anything" thing. I knew it was going to be terrible. I knew it. I was like, why am I watching this? Stevie Wonder muted that shit and put subtitles on. He's like, I can't take this. It was bad, and props to Mighty Mouse for trying to keep the train on track. I feel like Craig did okay, but Mikey and his constant articulation of how he's working on not interrupting people kind of drove me crazy watching the debate. And I just feel like neither dude walked away establishing anything that important or learning anything that important. It's pretty much everything we already knew. We just wasted over an hour of our time relearning it again.
Okay,
so,
but
yeah,
let me interrupt you right here. Okay, because I'm wait.
Yeah, you gotta take a drink. Oh,
no,
mate,
I have to
drink.
take a drink. Oh no, it's alcohol. Anyway, what do I want to say here? I watched it too, and you know what, Tim? I thought I was gonna watch it so that you didn't have to, and then you messaged me. I watched that, and I said, "Oh no!" I was hoping one of us subjected ourselves to this, and I'm more mad not at Craig or at Mikey, but at the 45 ads I had to click through to watch something that I'm only watching for news purposes. I have seen some prominent athletes suggest that you watch this, and they are wrong because it is very bad. What they are trying to say is it is trying to bring to light the reason behind the UFC being okay as an entity in the world of jiu-jitsu. And Craig wants credit for kickstarting the interest in jiu-jitsu. And you do have to give him that. And don't worry, Mikey reminded you, he has done it in every interview for the past year. Where's the issue? It is that now they're competitors, and that the UFC BJJ, because they didn't get Craig, in his interpretation, that is why they are blocking people from appearing on their Craig Jones Invitational event. Here's the larger issue. This debate was terrible. It's not a debate. You know what it is? It's a discussion. And when we talk about having a debate, you need a moderator that's not going to include themselves. Mighty, at the top of this, said, all right, I'm going to give you time to speak, and then you time to speak, and then if I want to, I'll chime in too. And I thought, just get a neutral moderator. What is the point? Like, how is this so hard for people? Instead, Mighty Mouse has to be like, well, based on my experiences, and many of them are valid, but it almost felt like at a certain point, he's ganging up to help out Mikey at the very beginning. And then he heard the answers that Mikey was giving and said, oh God, yeah, I'm with Craig on some of these because these are real dumb, dude. And I have to tell you, when you are in the comment section and you're trying to say that somebody got owned or somebody won and whatever, Mikey's contentions were as follows. Let me see if I sum this up properly. One, the UFC is good because it has a lot of reach and will build the athletes. So you have to just let them try, because why not? That's it. That's the argument. And forget the fact that they're a monopoly. Forget the fact that they are letting you compete in other areas. Forget exclusive contracts and the problem that builds. They're trying, guys, so let them try. And I might even be okay with saying, sure, let them try. I do believe UFC BJJ can be very good for the sport. Having said that, there are inherent problems. Like when Mikey said he was going to be going up against the top 5 opponent. And guess what? Yeah. Then on Craig's side, nonstop promotion, as he should. No problems there. Maybe Craig just wants a little bit of credit here. But for the UFC, 1, they're not going to give that credit. 2, I don't know that it is necessarily bad that they view him as competition, because it's one of the few times you have some leverage to scare them. So, unfortunately, he is that guy. And that is part of the reason why we are rooting for them to continue doing events, because we need some sort of counter leverage to this monopoly that's growing more and more power, where, yeah, the athletes don't have leveraging prices and points. But what I want to say is this. When you're watching this debate, your brain melts because there's no structure, there's no form, the jokes are flying. Only once was there an ounce of news that was pertinent. And I don't even remember what it is, because my brain went into a synapsis of, nope, you turn off now. I don't understand this format. You know what it is? You know, we've talked about this on the show before, but you know how they have those one person in the circle debating another person with ideologies? There's like 20 people around them.
Yeah.
Those
right,
things.
Right.
It was as if that one person never left. And instead of going to the 20 other people, you were stuck with one eccentric dude and you had to debate him. Except then you added in the conceit of, I'm going to give you a shot of alcohol every time you interrupt. And instead, I almost wanted to be like, just shock this dude, because the alcohol clearly is not going to sit well with him. And then as the show is going on, at the very end, Seth started just calling out things from the sidelines and being like, actually, no, this is what we're doing. And I go, where did Seth come from? What's happening here? So it's so silly and ridiculous. I just wish we would have an actual structured debate on a particular topic that we can make something happen on. But this ain't it. Whatever that was. So, no.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
Scrap the debate. Craig and Seth, get together with your media directors and all your people that are working under you and get on the same page. That's a thought. Like, that might help move the ball forward a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Anyway,
you know what I'm saying, Raf.
I'm going to move on because I feel like any more on this, as a former speech and debate kid, my brain will just explode. All right. So it does seem like there's some stuff going down here. And this is an interesting topic to me because now it does look like on this particular thing, this looks like we've taken some shots back and forth. Now, before we go any further, since we're on shots back and forth, interpolation is a math term, not legal. You know what's interesting, Egg GBT? I love the fact that we can ask you questions, but apparently you just don't love songs that have familiar refrains from other places, because it's also used for songs like a melody or a lyric from previously existing into a new composition. Almost like somebody did that with an impression. If it was an impression. Anyway, ChatGPT still better than Egg, unfortunately. Advancements have happened in ChatGPT, but not in Egg.
Egg's pretty good.
Hey,
I don't know.
He's not bad.
I don't know what's up with that thing, but he's okay.
He's
a little slow.
He clearly he's a little slow. You got to bandwidth that one back up. But yes, that's a new term to him. But yes, apparently he's never heard of legal issues that have happened with songs like that. So that's all. Listen, interpolations happen. It says songs not legal. See, your brain's not comprehending that when you do an interpolation of something, you are basically taking the structure of it in a song form, so a lyric or an impression, and recreating it in somewhere you're new. Anyway, we're going to move on here, Ed, because it's too hard. I know, the cracks in the shell, it's happening. We're going to move forward. Tim, What exactly is happening in this kind of war that's going down right now?
Well, we've been alluding to it a lot on the show. We've mentioned it, we've talked about it. And it really started with CJI1. It really started with Craig taking a shot at ADCC and Mojasim, and it was a giant thing, and all the parties kind of aligned. And since that happened, the UFC has jumped into the mix, and the War Report here, just to keep you updated. And you guys we talked about the debate, and we know that Craig, he's been taking shots at Mikey. He's been saying contracts suck. They're bad for the UFC. Gordon sat back and he goes, yeah, contracts do suck. That's why I allegedly advised Gable Stevenson on how to get out of his contract with you, Craig. So Gordon's taking shots. At the same time, the UFC BJJ leader, Claudia Gadella, is out there saying Gordon will never compete for us because he openly embraces the TRT lifestyle, not the BJJ lifestyle. So he can't be in our organization, which, look, I get what you're saying, but come on, you got a roster full of MMA dudes. Like, let's be realistic about that. But moving forward, so this is kind of where we're at. There's like 3 different camps, and Gordon's kind of like out there on an island a little bit. He doesn't necessarily have the backing of the UFC. We know he's not necessarily in the great graces of Flow Grappling. Flow seems to be a strange bedfellow right now with Craig Jones. So it's interesting what's going on. A year from now, I suspect we'll see 2 camps and not 1. I imagine one of these players is going to shake out or line up with somebody altogether. Okay. Interesting stuff, though, man.
Let me bring this up to you. So I remembered what the one nugget of information we got in that debate was. And it was when they were talking about Kennedy being referred to in a post press conference. And Mikey said out loud, I didn't like that. And yeah, Claudia was talked to about that. So the one good thing that the UFC BJJ did when they had a slow moving match that was not exciting, and they said, hey, we're going to have to talk to those guys because you can't just call out for a title shot. Maybe we don't bring you back. Okay, that's always going to be a risk. Mikey was taking it personally because it's a friend of his and saying like, yeah, she got talked to for that. I think you should be able to say you don't get a title shot based on a performance like that, because we have normalized the idea of you win. All right, where's my title shot? Well, you just got here, sir. Also, that wasn't the best work to display for a title shot. So maybe not this one. You know what I'm saying? And Mikey's contention is, yes, as you have other black belts, it will be closer to being even. But the UFC BJJ is structured to be more exciting. And if you are not delivering on that, you might need to look to other people who can deliver on that, or have a talk with the athlete that says, hey, I know you're trying to win, but that's more for you. That's not for the audience. And they are sometimes not synced with each other. So that was the little bit of nugget of news that I think I was washing the dishes and I was listening to this dumb debate and I go, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, she was talked to. And I go, no. And that was like the one good thing they did. They never do that in press conferences. And he's like, yeah, they had to talk to her. And I go, well, for fucking what?
Ooh.
So anyway.
Yeah, Mikey didn't like it.
Well,
I think
he doesn't have all that much control, Tim. Remember, that's what he said.
Oh, yeah. Right. Sure.
He may have advised them a little bit on things, but it was a very structured sort of hit by Craig. I mean, if you watch that whole thing, you are watching an expert troller who demonstrates that they have an excellent ability to bring up points that are hard to contest. So somewhere beneath all the dick jokes and silliness and borderline edgy nonsense, Craig's pretty sharp. So doing these things felt like a uneven fight. And that's the part that was a little bit difficult to watch. But why don't we do this? Why don't we move the board a little bit further? And this one actually depresses me a little bit, Tim. There are reports going around that Eddie Bravo may be done with his active rolling. Reports were showing that, yeah, he is getting a little up there in age, as we all are. But he was saying that the injuries he's had over the years have made him roll less and less, where he's saying his time rolling may be coming to an end. Tim?
Yeah, he said that. And it's funny how the internet takes the article and like stretches it. So the interview goes, maybe it's time to go back to the gi. And Eddie's one of these guys where you could go, Eddie, maybe it's time to start smoking crack. And he won't go, no, he'll go, maybe it is. You know what? Maybe I should do that. I don't know. I'm going to think about it. So the interviewer goes, maybe it's time to train the gi. And Eddie's like, maybe it is. Maybe that's what I should do. Jean-Jacques is 5 minutes away. Maybe I'll start training there. And then it was Eddie Bravo's going to give up no-gi grappling. He's going to start training in the gi again. And I loved it so much because there's so much irony in that whole thing of Eddie going full Eddie, circling all the way back around and going, guess what? 10th Planet's all gi now. Which would be the ultimate swerve. With the ultimate Eddie Bravo swerve. But look, I don't think the gi's that much easier. If he does go train in the gi, this is going to be the headline in 2 years. Eddie Bravo quits training in the gi. I can't feel my fingers anymore. I broke all I have microfractures in all my knuckles and my hands don't work. And I have trigger finger and my elbows are all jacked up. Yeah, it's not good for your body. It's just not good.
Here's my take on how I read it and what I was looking at. It immediately made me think, wait a minute. The retirement plan for 10th Planet is gi? So all these nerds complaining about the gi for years have no idea that their main dude is going, sorry, guys, when you get to a certain age, that's what you have to do. If you want that 4th or 5th stripe on your black belt, that you have to go to gi. It all comes back. It all goes full circle. You go one way, and then circle of life, you come back in the gi.
It's like turning Republican when you get older. You're like, yeah, when I was young, I believed all kinds of stuff, but now I'm just like, yeah.
It was
put the on. Yeah.
It was just the best part was literally thinking of every person I know. As I was reading, I think it was in bed. I just like scrolling up and I go, huh? He's stopping in the gi? And then I put the phone down on my chest and I go, I can name 10 people who have done nothing but insult the gi, who are 10th Planet friends. And now realizing that they have to get to a certain point where they're going to go, nah, man, I mean, the gi is pretty cool if you really think about it. I'm like, really think about it. That was the difference. We thought about it, but we didn't really think about it. Figured it out. Good to know, everybody. Eddie, I hope you're on the mats forever. You're a legend. We love you. The thought of you not rolling made me sad, but no one's ever really done. It's just a matter of, yeah, dude, maybe Eddie's not going to roll with every student in the class. Maybe Eddie's going to pick and choose who he does roll with. And that's perfectly okay as you get older. It's just the scaredness of the headline made us start thinking like, oh my God, Eddie's close to dying. Oh my God, I think he's about to go. No. He's next. It's like, don't do that. Let's just be very real. If that man chooses to roll less, he has earned it. It's fine. Let's talk a little bit about receipts. Receipts were a major source of information this week for a lot of people, but not for some. I want to point this out. We're going to start by saying that the young man who went into a wrestling ring, who is Rampage's son, made a bad choice. So it's hard to do jokes on this particular subject because there was a gentleman who was hit to a point where he has recovered some, but we're not sure what his recovery is going to look like. We're glad that he is recovered to some extent where he is awake. Reports say that he doesn't know what happened that night, but there's a whole backstory that I think we should take a learning lesson from here, because although pro wrestling isn't necessarily jiu-jitsu or MMA, it did involve somebody who is an MMA and perhaps larger learning lessons. But Tim, from your recollection, what exactly transgressed here in this particular incident that happened earlier this week?
So, as far as I can tell, and I've talked to Big MF, my inside BJJ partner in crime, who is really big on the indie wrestling circuit. He loves it so much. He's telling me everything he knows. But essentially, Rampage's son was cracked in the head with an open can. You know, it didn't have anything in it, and it was just like part of the bit. The guy that did it thought that it was all just part of the bit. And his son reportedly had been concussed not too long before that and was pretty upset about it. Wrestler went up and apologized, said, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I was out of line. I thought you were a wrestler. I thought we were doing a bid. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like be that aggressive, blah, 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 blah." And then, you know, I don't know if this is true, but there's allegedly somebody told Raja, they said, "Hey, you can get that one back in the ring." And I think that might be a wrestling term for like, you're going to give him a pretty good bump. It doesn't mean you're going to knock him out and continue to wail on him while he's out. And, you know, I think there was definitely a misunderstanding and also probably a little bit of a judgment issue in putting a guy in a situation like that you don't know exactly how they're going to react. And unfortunately, the problem with this, and as it relates to like jiu-jitsu, you're right, is you could have some dude come into your school, drop in your class, and get upset about something and start cracking somebody. Right. So you have to, you know, it sucks because in a way, everyone's trying to push the envelope. They're trying to get eyeballs. They're trying to, you know, stretch every name that has any kind of value or appeal to it. But sometimes it goes sideways and then there's like real serious repercussions, which apparently, obviously, outside of the gentleman that was hospitalized, there's other things going on behind the scenes that it sounds like, you know, it's not going to be that great. So
there were so many different reports and things that came up in this particular case. So I'm going to drive by some of the things that I kind of have read and picked up. The first is huge acknowledgement to Doug, that pro wrestler that stepped in. He was the second one to step in. There was a young kid who was 17 years old who was trying to break it up initially. Now, I want you to think about that sentence again. A 17-year-old kid was put in a position to try and help break down the situation from a fighter who, as Rampage was alleging in his statement a little bit later, had been concussed. Like, he's mentioning his son had a concussion. I don't know if that's the best legal advice to put that information in there. But then again, this was a family that was streaming literally everything. So if you are a lawyer right now, there are definitely some things that are press play and just let that speak for itself. Having said that, Tim, the areas that I found that were most concerning in this were that, yes, a wrestler who trains with that team said, get a receipt to somebody who was not involved in the show, who became involved in the show. And yes, there are plenty of valid criticisms of they should not be drinking beforehand. That doesn't help things. Two, Psycho Stu probably had a misread. I think that was pretty clear on thinking that kid was in the business. But there was a camera that's following them. So it is confusing because even if you don't think this kid's a wrestler, you will assume that's part of a show. And I think then he's playing for a camera. He's profusely apologizing and then saying that, yeah, you should go get a receipt. Now, here's the weird part. AJ Mana, who was the individual there, who was the cowboy hat wearing dude, he's a pro wrestler. He's also fought some. He told him to go get a receipt and he trains with them. So if you think about that, that's basically saying it's okay But that doesn't mean that AJ told him direct orders that he has to follow. So, like, AJ made an inference that was a bad choice of saying that. What made it even worse was later he said, "Oh, I was in character when I did that."
Sorry.
I'm reporting what has been said by him. I mean, and how
that's he's interpolating to Terry Bollella claiming Hulk Hogan has the 9-incher, but Bollella
yes.
He's interpolating the Hulkster's legal arguments. Right? Is that right? Did I do that?
I'm sorry, Tim. I'm trying so hard to get through this, but yeah, that's not incorrect. Okay. So
suck on that egg.
What I should say is this. The core behind this is still the young man, Raja Jackson, who made all the choices. You can't get past that. And clearly has some emotional distress. Whether that's from his dad picking on him or other things he's facing or the concussion that he likely faced. I think it's a mix of everything. But it is a streaming culture that was encouraging him to go out there and get a receipt back. So there's a lot of stuff to decompress from all of this. But I have found the different angles, the explanations, the talking about it. The reason why we should be wary of this as our sport is, I'm a huge fan of pro wrestling. I go to shows. If I was ever asked to be part of the show, it would be an honor. But that's their world. You're going into their world. So you do want to have some respect for the wrestlers. Secondary, saying that it's always been my dream to mess up a pro wrestler is not good for your legal case. But it also demonstrates that there are underlying issues that necessarily aren't with every MMA fighter, but every MMA fighter that says, "Hey man, that dude hit me with a beer can, it's on site. If that's me." It is a world filled of tough guys that have blown something so out of proportion. We now see the consequence of what happens when you are being that vindictive. Yeah. And now we see that man's life may be changed very, very permanently going forward. So the lesson I wanted to take away from that, from us in jiu-jitsu, is we can be smart about the people we bring in when we have our gyms. But by and large, just a larger culture of try to have a little bit more respect and empathy for people who are a little bit different. And more importantly, as you have guests in there, if you bring them, it is kind of on you to explain, maybe that's not the way we do things. And that is something that was lacking in this particular case. And whether it was the promoters themselves doing it, AJ says he's got receipts too. He says that he was instructed by the promoter to tell him that, but then said he was in character. I don't know. It's a mix of a lot of different people trying to find their way out on this one. No one wants to take responsibility. Having said that, go find out Just the Epic, I think is his name. Doug, the gentleman who broke it up. So that was the guy who came in and said, I recognized I was a takedown away, that if that dude got on top of me, he would have tried to kill me too. And that was truly courageous. And that 17-year-old kid, God bless, he tried to fix it out too. But at least with Doug, he's trained a little bit, so he was able to kind of at least fend him off. And at one point in one of the podcasts he appeared on, he just said, yeah, that was me that bit you, kid, that you're complaining about. Tough shit. You were trying to punch me after I was trying to pull you off. What did you expect? And still, that man had empathy for the situation and said, yeah, I get it. We made dumb decisions when we're young. So it's a very interesting case. We'll follow it as we can, but I just thought it would be interesting to bring up so that we can learn a little bit from it. Tim, I think it's time to head to our next topic, which is that of this photo, by the way. This is a lot.
You like that?
It appears that we didn't quite make a world record recently. Here with more on that, Tim Freeman.
So this just tickled me, man, because, I dig for stuff. I go to the usual slums, and then sometimes I'll just like, hey, I'm going to go out into the internet, see what I can find. And there was it really made me laugh that Braulio Estima led this. Okay. There was an outdoor jiu-jitsu open mat at the Bear Grylls Gone Wild Festival. I wonder what that subreddit looks like, where there were more than 1,000 people gathered in an attempt to surpass the standing world record that I didn't even know existed of 2,500 participants training jiu-jitsu at the same time on one gigantic mat. Unfortunately, despite the star name and power of Bear Grylls, they can only pull in 1,040 white belts to show up, and they failed. But they became the second largest jiu-jitsu open mat ever, which is kind of cool, right? I mean, I think that's neat. I just think this is white belts unite. Like, if I'm a white belt and this is exactly the kind of shit that I thought of when I was a white belt. What if we had a giant open mat? We tried to get like 1,000 people to come train. Oh my God. What a headache. I don't even want to train with 10 people, let alone 1,000. Are you out of your mind? Give me one good training partner. That's all I need.
Oh,
but
boy.
Funny story.
I don't know, man. Could you imagine the person that did the counting and the tallying? And you literally do this. All right. Hey, Braulio, can I have a word? No, everything's going great. So I ran the numbers and we didn't make it by a lot. Do you want to do it again? We can try at Burning Man 3 if you want. Coachella. You know what? We could tell people it's a Beyonce open mat, and they'll think Baychella 2, and they'll show up, and you'll just be like, just kidding. Everybody grab a partner. 20 arm bars back and forth from guard. Let's go. So
you think all the guys in the area that are like, those guys that have the open mat memberships where they don't sign up at any gym, they just bounce around to the free open mats, they showed up. Missed opportunity, though. You could have the world's #1 Guinness Book of World's Record largest white to blue belt promotion at that event. Right after, you could go, hey, everybody paid their $50. Guess what? You're all blue belts. Hey, you don't have to give them the belts. You just hold a belt up. You do a little christening thing, and then blue belt.
Or you just demote everybody to make them all white belts.
There you go. I like that even better.
I digress. Let's move forward to our fight of the week. Tim, what do you have to tell us about this week's fight of the week?
This is a fight that is unique and different. Got the wrong graphic on that one. I'm sorry, Graph.
It's okay. I looked at it and I said, I mean, it's a choice, but okay.
I could read your mind, man. As soon as your eyes glance, I could just tell. I'm like, oh, he's disappointed.
You know what it is? It's not I'm disappointed. It's just that I go, well, that is wrong. But if I don't say anything, maybe we got a shot.
Okay, so check it out. We've never had a fight like this. Some dude recorded his fight, happened to be recording, and it's in the first person. So it's POV fighting, and it's a pretty funny dude not expecting to get hit. And you really get to see the look of surprise on somebody's face when they get hit and they don't expect to get hit.
Oh my God. Okay, you have definitely piqued my interest. I'm ready for it. Let's go ahead and pull it up here. Tib, I don't know where, when, how, why you do what you do.
They find me, Ref.
You do what you do. All right, take us through this.
Just loitering outside the pawn shop / weed shop / smoke shop, maybe. Homeboy's going to come out. He's got a little thing in his mouth. Looks like he has a cape on. Maybe collecting cans. Cracked. He gets hit. And now we're first person fighting. He's like, oh shit. Oh, you want to square up, homie? Yeah, I want to square up. Bam. On the ground. Now, here's my favorite. I love the face shot. Here's my favorite part. He takes a couple boots, goes to the ground, and now he covers his face with his own hoodie. He's like, I don't want anyone to look at me. And then we get to see how dude just slips out. Jesus I'm out.
Christ. Who
How
is keeping
exciting was
more
that?
body cams than the fucking police on them, Tim?
This guy is. Oh, come on. The bad guys always are doing better than the cops.
You're not wrong on that. All right. Do you want me to walk you through what I see here?
Yes.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm walking around. Let's see if anybody's here. Nah, man, this is looking pretty good. I wonder if this dude who's got a body cam is going to come up to me and talk to me. What's up, fool? Yeah, I'm chewing something right now, fool. You need to get away from me. I got a bag over me. I got like a, whoa, what is that? Why you kind of be JCVD, fam? Like, pull up. Even though I got a t-shirt that says cookies on yo, fam. Like, I've been waiting for this all day. I'm chewing my mouth guard already. Let's go in 3. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't push me up against this machine. Uh-oh. Not looking good. Oh, shit. I'm down, fam. No. Where's me cousins? Primos, where are you? And then this is the part that hurt me.
Check the dollar sign on dude's sleeve.
I did. The clock that happens here, this is the one that hurts. 3, 2, ow. Like, this is the shit in a Jackie Chan film that Jackie Chan gets kicked in the face and goes, I don't want any trouble. No. And then he does that. And then he's literally, this is the worst part, is when he goes, all right, fool, just wait until I get back up. No, I'm going to have to go in my blankie. No, fam, don't hit me anymore. Fool, I'd like to report a robbing. So
he declared himself dead. He just covered his own body. He's like, throw the sheet on me, Holmes. I'm out.
Anyway, Tim, why don't we do this? We have some work to do right now. But why don't we tell the people where they can find you, sir, in the event they want to follow you and see more from you, sir?
Follow me at Inside BJJ on your favorite social media platforms. The Inside BJJ production side of the house has been a little slow, but I'm going to ramp it back up. Just clearing some things out of the schedule, RAF, as you have quite intimate knowledge of. But look for more coming out of that eventually here in the next couple months or so. If you're out in Nashville, come see me at 10th Planet Nashville. And if you're out in Stockton, go see my homies at 10th Planet Stockton. RAF, it's great to be with you today, man. I appreciate it. Great show. Always a good time, man.
Likewise, sir. Tim, I appreciate you. And for those of you wondering, yes, there's going to be some kind of presence at CJI. Exactly what, we're not sure. And part of that is because, well, it's not because of us. Let's put it that way. I don't know what to preview because they have not figured it out themselves. So
Shock.
I'm there in some way. I don't know how, and I'm not particularly sure why. But you know, there is one thing I am sure of, and that is come tomorrow and on Sunday. You will see us for official pre-shows on that. So what I would love for you guys to do is tomorrow, be back here, check out this show. We will have a pre-show that will lead directly into the Craig Jones Invitational. And on Sunday, same thing. So be sure to watch it. And if you could do us a solid, my one request, please share it. Because we like to think we do a pretty good job. And listen, no shade to any person involved there. We have lots of friends. I don't think it's going to be a better show. And I have to say that. I would expect them to say the same for their own show. But like realistically, it's not going to be better than our show. So why don't you tune into our show, which is definitely better than theirs, because we'll at least come up with some entertaining ways to preview what you could expect at the Craig Jones Invitational Dose. But until then, you guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is RAF ESPARZA. I'm joined by Tim Freeman. We love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Until then, it's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.